Hello, and welcome to another episode of Be a Leader podcast, where we talk about current events in sports, military, and business through the lens of leadership. And we're going to talk about space exploration company. We're talking about business case here. SpaceX recently just took off in the IPO, the largest one ever. It just happened here a few days ago here in June in 2026, and they raised $75 billion and have a $1 trillion valuation, 1.77. It is extraordinary. And the question we're going to ask ourselves is, how did they do it? I do love the space industry, by the way. My old space hardware company was in the space industry. It was for deep space, was hardware. It was several years ago. A lot of lessons learned, but I've always enjoyed the space industry. And we can learn from this today. We're going to learn together. What are 4 key things that we can learn from SpaceX that we can apply to our lives and our business and our professions? So let's go to the first one. And it sounds simple, but it's so important. And that first one is to dream big. Okay, dreaming big. Their mission was not to build cheap rockets. Their mission wasn't to compete with Boeing. Their mission wasn't just to get into space. It was to make life multiplanetary. It was to be able to get to the moon and to Mars and beyond. It is something bigger than any of us could ever imagine and probably still think is maybe not possible, but it is a huge, audacious vision and mission. Okay, the dream is bigger than any quarterly results. Is bigger than any setback or failure. Okay, it's even bigger than probably the founder's lifetime. Okay, I don't think Elon Musk will ever see this be achieved in his lifetime, but that's what makes it exciting, right? Dreaming of this proportion gives you the fuel for that hard work. It also invites other people that are hard workers, that are dreamers, that want a piece of that journey to come alongside and work with you. Okay, it is bigger than you, essentially. And sometimes audacious goals are important. They do give us some type of excitement. It's like a lifetime goal. What if there was a goal in your life that was so big that you don't think you could ever achieve it? For the right person, that's going to give you so much fuel because you know you're building something bigger than yourself. Not quite the same thing, but in the Marine Corps, you joined the Marine Corps and you were part of something bigger. You earn the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor to become a Marine. You wear the cloth like many Marines before you. You are in that battlefield with your Marines left to right of you. You are part of something bigger so you can accomplish things that you could never do by yourself. That's the power of joining a place like the Marine Corps. You do things you could never do by yourself. And here with SpaceX, they were trying to also build this company that we do things that no one else does. Bring engineers to build stuff that will actually get to space and help us get to space. That was part of the joy that a lot of the workers have had working at SpaceX, depending on where they joined the company. Okay, having that big goal. Remember when you were a kid, you had big dreams, and someone along the way tells you you're crazy, and keep it into expectation so that you're not disappointed. I don't think Elon Musk heard that at all, because here he is saying we're going to get to Mars. It is an audacious, big goal. What can we learn from this? If you're losing a little bit of the joy of your work right now, maybe it's time to relook at your mission. Maybe your life mission, maybe your company mission, maybe your overall goals. But here they have a big mission, and it has fueled, pun intended, to be able to have this amazing IPO and many of the things that they've been able to do. So let's learn from that. But as you can imagine, building a space hardware company or space launching company is a challenge. And that's the second point here, is you got to have conviction through the failures. Challenges and setbacks are a natural part, especially if you're trying to build anything that is going to go into space. Okay, it's going to be a challenge, and you have to know what's coming, but have the conviction that this is the journey that you are meant to do. That what you're doing is important. That you have to go through the setbacks and failures. You learn so much from failures. You often learn much more from failures than you do from just wins. Speaking from sports alone. Let's talk about what their journey was. The Falcon rocket was their main rocket that they had been building. Okay, and they, at some point, had to launch it. Well, let's talk about this journey. Their first launch, all right, was September 2006, and it explodes within seconds. It crashes. It takes a lot of money. They probably saw it coming, but it still hurts to watch. So that's September of 2006. A year later, July 2007, the second one goes, and it also explodes within seconds. And at this point, it's probably a little bit tougher. You know, the first one, they're like, okay, it probably is going to explode. The second one, got more investors involved. They had to raise more cash to be able to make this happen. It's a little bit tough. They go from July 2007, and they go on. What year is it? August 2008 was the third flight, and then it also explodes. And this one hurt because investors are watching, future buyers are watching this, and it explodes, and it puts the company on the brink of collapse. This was probably the hardest one, the one where they have to gather. You've probably seen pictures. They gather pieces of the rocket. And they're sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, we really thought the third one was going to work." And here's the key insight here. This was not stubbornness. It would be easy to say, "Oh, you failed once, you failed twice, you failed 3 times. Maybe it's not the direction you need to go. Maybe you should pivot and do something that's more realistic." But this is the part where you have to have the conviction that your mission matters and that you can do it. It's just part of your journey. Right? That each failure is a data point. Okay? That each failure is an iteration that you can learn from. It's an opportunity. You have to embrace the learning. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you got to ask, "What can I learn from this?" The identity must stay firm. We will get to Mars. And the behaviors need to keep learning and adapt and make sure they're aligning. Right? And let's go from August 2008 to September 2008, or just a month later, and their fourth flight comes and they finally reach orbit. And this is a massive point for SpaceX because they are the first privately developed liquid fuel rocket to ever orbit. And not only that, and the fact that they got into orbit space themselves, but Reuters recently, right, when they're looking at the IPO here in 2026, said that the entire company, the future of the company, hinged on that point of survival, finally getting to space, finally being able to say, "We can do it too." 3 months later, they land a really big contract with NASA, a $1.6 billion contract. This changes SpaceX trajectory, right, forever, because they finally did it. Right? And that goes back to that IBR in action, identity, behavior, result. You have that strong identity. We will get to Mars. We will get to space. We will get there as a privately formed company. The behavior, they keep learning through iterations and failures and data sets. And then finally the results was they got into orbit and they were able to land that big contract with NASA that fueled them to continue. And while we're on this with conviction, let's not forget the other story about using reusable rocket boosters. People thought that was crazy. They said it's not possible. It was just part of the cost of getting up into space, that you're going to have these gigantic boosters that are consumables that you use, waste, and have to rebuild time and time again. And SpaceX said, "Hey, this is a major cost point. What if we didn't have to rebuild it every time? What if we could make it and capture it back without destroying it? And what if we could use it again to launch?" Sometimes the curiosity can be very powerful. And here we'll go back. So the original launches, we're talking about 2006, 2007, 2008. Now we're going all the way to 2015. Years later, June 2015, the CRS-7 had all this cargo. They tried to launch it up and reuse the booster, and the whole thing was a complete failure. They lost the cargo. It was a major setback, and it would have been easy to say, "You just wasted a whole bunch of cargo. This was a disaster. Let's play it safe." It's so easy to just have the fear come into us and say, "Let's just play it safe." But later that same year, in December 2015, it was the first time they were able to land that rocket booster. It was a major, major accomplishment. I still remember when that happened, saying it, just saying, "This is unbelievable." And then a few months later, SES-10 in March 2016 was able to use that used booster for the first time. They were able to launch it, get it back, refurbish it, and launch it again. Unbelievable. People said this couldn't happen, and they did it. And that happened in March 2016. And then 10 years later, March 2026, what are some of the statistics that we can see? Over 540 launches by their very reliable Falcon. Over 570 booster landings and recoveries. Wow. Over 2,200 metric tons brought into space. And that's roughly 80% of all the global mass going into orbit came through SpaceX. What would have happened if they listened to the naysayers? of not being able to get up in the orbit, not being able to get these reusable rockets, they would not have been able to service and do all these things they did in a decade time. That's part of that conviction that we can learn from. Have that conviction in your mission and your journey and embrace your learning journey. Let's go on to the third lesson. And this lesson is you need a Gwynne. Who's Gwynne? Okay, Gwynne Shotwell. She's the president and COO, the chief operation officer of SpaceX. She joined in 2002, right there, that first year where everything began. And going back to what Reuters said, they claim that she is the glue holding the company together. Why is that? She's the operations person, right? She helps with business development, helps with the contracts, helps with employees, helps with execution discipline, and she plays that critical partnership with Elon Musk, who is the visionary, the dreamer, has the conviction himself. But Gwynne, she's the operator. She's the one that customers trust. She's the one executing it, making sure that it's happening. Okay, and the main point is it's a team effort. Don't go through it alone. It's so important, if you are a founder, to have a great co-founder, right? If you are CEO, have a good C-suite, right? If you are doing anything in life and you want to get further, don't go through alone. Have a coach. There's a reason why all athletes have coaches, sometimes multiple coaches, because you can't see what you can't see. And often when you have a coach, they help you get further than you could ever do alone. Have someone that helps you. Gwynne Shotwell for SpaceX is the one that customers trusted, built confidence with many different stakeholders. She was very important. You have the visionary, you have the operator, and that's how you scale. Right? Don't go through it alone, is the main point here on point number 3. And that leads us to number 4. And it makes sense, but let's just talk about this. Any business, new business, it takes capital, it takes cash. Right? You need cash to buy you time and to buy you opportunities. Okay. But if you're building a space hardware company like I have done myself, I can tell you it costs a lot of money to build things. It's not software. It's not some imaginary world that you just kind of create stuff on computers. You need a hardware. You need tools. You need materials. You need time. You're going to learn trial and error. It's a lot. It's expensive. And getting to space is so expensive. So the 4th lesson that we can learn from here is the importance of cash. No cash, no business. You've probably heard that saying before. But cash is the fuel, pun intended again, to get you to launch, to get you into space. If you have big dreams, you need the time. And cash gives you time and it gives you opportunity. So SpaceX, how did they do it? And we know now because we have public records finally to understand exactly the makeup of their revenue, their losses, all those types of things. We can see specifically the importance of Starlink. And what is Starlink? They are small LEO satellites, LEOs for low Earth orbit, satellites spread around the Earth to provide communication. It's not sexy. It's not getting to Mars. It's comm, as we would say in the Marine Corps, COMM, comm, communications. But it is vital. It is so fundamental to SpaceX, and so much so, let's break it down. We're going to just rough the numbers here, but roughly 60% of their revenue comes from Starlink. And roughly 40% of the revenue comes from something related to rocket launches. Okay, so about 11 billion of revenue for Starlink, and roughly 7.5 billion of revenue with the documents that I looked at. So 60%, more than half, is coming from communications, not launching rockets. Okay. Again, a little bit more about Starlink. They have over 10 million subscribers as of March of 2026. They operate 164 countries. They have almost 10,000 satellites in orbit, and they're making about 120 a month per user. Okay? So you can start to see how important this is. And here's the key insight. Again, Starlink is not the main effort. Starlink is not the mission. But Starlink is fueling and supporting the mission to happen. You could not have the mission work without Starlink. Okay? It's the business that funds the mission. And maybe someone needs to hear this right now because you have an audacious dream too. But you don't know how to make it work because you don't have the cash. You need a bootstrap, right? The easiest, most common one is your full-time job helps you as you build your side business and your vision until it can replace that income, and then it can start to take off, right? It's a simple one like that. Many times we have to do the hard work to get that cash flow to sustain the business. You don't just jump all in and quit everything and just say, oh, it's going to make it work. If you haven't done it before, don't have any paying customers yet, right? Don't jump in. It is tempting. I know because I've done it before. Okay, make sure you have sustainable cash. No cash, no business. And that's the main takeaway. And let me give you a parallel. Let's go to the Marine Corps again. I spent time in the Marine Corps. When you think about the Marine Corps, you're usually thinking about that grunt, the heavy load, alone, with the Marines, alone and unafraid in the wilderness and the desert, kicking down doors, taking down the enemy, closing with and destroying the enemy. Yes, that is the Marine Corps. But the only way they do that is by one element in the Marine Corps that's often not talked about. And I wasn't part of this unit, but I appreciate it. And it is the combat logistical element. Logistics. Logistics. Yes. The reason why the Marine Corps is so lethal the way it is as an expeditionary warfare unit around the world is because logistics just gave you the answer of why they're so lethal. We have 3 Bs. That's just the way we bring it in. Beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. They bring them in. If you don't have bullets, you can't shoot, right? If you don't have beans, you're going to starve. And yes, at some point you're so hungry, you'll take whatever MREs with beans and gravy, okay? And Band-Aids because people get hurt. Accidents happen. It's everything. If you look at World War II history alone, you'll see the importance of fuel. When they ran out of gasoline and diesel, their tanks stopped going. Everything relies on logistics in the military, and the Marine Corps is extremely good at logistics. And that's why the Marine Corps is part of the reason why the Marine Corps is extremely good. Just like SpaceX is extremely good with their Starlink part of their company and allows them to fund and continue to keep getting better for their main effort, which is getting rockets up into space and eventually getting people to live on other planets. I'm going to say countries. Oh my gosh, planets. It sounds crazy to say out loud. But that's what's fueling. Big dreams, deep, boring revenue. All right? Don't fall in love just with the glamorous products. You got to make sure you are funding it with reliable cash flow. And that is something that we can learn from SpaceX. So let's look at our recap of our big 4 takeaways I do have for those watching the video, my college basketball whiteboard, and let's do a review of the big takeaways. The first one is dream big. Maybe you do need an audacious goal, something that fuels your energy, something that's going to get you out of bed in the morning and keep going when it's tough, because things will get tough. I will tell you myself, a dream that I had when I was an officer candidate school in Quantico, Virginia, freezing my butt off, trying to become a Marine and an officer in the Marine Corps, is I could picture my mom in the stands watching me through graduation. That got me through every single day because you're starving, you hardly sleep. It's very unique that they do there. If you were sleeping over 3.5 hours, you were an all-star. You never had enough time to eat. You never had enough food. You're starving. It is miserable, right? That's how they challenge you. And it's physical, obviously, but they get you because you don't have the normal resources that you have. Just give me some sleep, give me some food, give me some rest, and I can do it. No, okay? It is all day, all week, for 10 weeks. Dream big. Have something that's powerful, like getting to Mars. Okay. The second one, power of conviction. Believing that you will hit roadblocks, that things will get hard, but it's part of the journey. And having conviction that this is what you signed up for. This is what you want. And if you bring that power of conviction and dream big, that you will get there. It gives purpose to the suffering, the pain and suffering. The third one, don't go through it alone. Okay. Elon Musk has Gwynne Shotwell. Okay. Someone that's a great partner for him to make things happen that's not in his zone of genius. Okay. We don't want the same people around us. We want complementary pieces, whether that's a good co-founder, a good C-suite, or having a coach that can help you in areas that you're not as good with, to help you with your blind spots, that pushes you, that helps you with other things. That's why consultants, right? I was a consultant at McKinsey & Company because I helped my clients out in areas that they weren't as good at and they needed to go quickly. Spend a lot of money at McKinsey to help us go quickly. Don't go through it alone. And the fourth one, cash fuels the mission. There's so many good puns when it comes to space and launching rockets. It fuels the mission. Okay, make sure you are fueling the mission. Sometimes the boring cash is it. Sometimes keeping your full-time job a little bit longer till you can scale is part of the process. Sometimes doing something within your own business that's not necessarily your main effort, like communications, to fuel the main effort, which is launching rockets eventually to Mars. Sometimes you need to do that. Okay, so have that plan. No cash, no business. Right? These are lessons that we can learn from SpaceX. And the deeper truth here, again, I'm big on confidence under pressure. Okay, you got to have a system. around it to help you with that. It's not blind faith. You're not looking at luck. Okay, you're trying to have an identity so clear that it survives challenges. And you keep building these behaviors that are aligned to it, and eventually the results come and speak for themselves, just like what happened with SpaceX from 2002 to 2026. It is a long time, several years to get this. And let's go back. Lessons for you. Dream big enough to hold on through failure. Develop conviction, not just optimism, because challenges will come. Build great relationships that can help you make it through. And fund it. Sometimes you got to fund it with boring revenue. Be open to that, okay? SpaceX, 24 years from when they were founded as an entity to when the IPO took over. They had multiple explosions, many challenges. It was not an easy ride. And the people that worked there, we didn't spend a lot of time, we're talking about the people, they worked a lot, almost to the edge of maybe you could say overworked, or this isn't the right, too much work, right? There's lots of books out there talking about the extreme environment that was there to push. A lot of people spent time building this company, and they're well rewarded now after the IPO with their stocks. 1.77 trillion valuation. And the main point of all of this is SpaceX did it, and you can too, within your realm, your dreams, your missions, whatever you're trying to accomplish in life. Let's use the lessons from SpaceX and apply them to ourselves. So anyways, I hope you appreciate and enjoyed this episode of Be a Leader podcast. If you're listening, please give it 5 stars. If you're watching maybe on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with someone that it could benefit from, or make a comment. What's the key takeaways for you, either about this episode or SpaceX? What are some key takeaways that you can use and share it with others? That's how we keep learning. Thank you again for watching this episode of Be a Leader podcast. And remember, whether you're leading yourself, leading others, or leading leaders, be a leader. My name is Daniel Pinedo. Thank you. Until next time.